Every recession produces winners. You watched it happen in 2008. Your neighbor lost the house, and a handful of people got rich on the wreckage. It wasn't luck, it was actually a pattern that's repeated in every recession since the 1970s. The same four moves every time. Here's what they did differently and how to be on the right side this round.
During the worst recession since the Great Depression, the households economists assumed would be destroyed came out ahead, not slightly ahead. The lowest income quintile in America saw their mean net worth increase by 5.9% between 2007 and 2010, while median household net worth across the country fell 39%. The Federal Reserve's own survey of consumer finances tracked the same households through the full cycle and published the result. The people who were supposed to lose the most did not. They ran a pattern. That pattern shows up not once, but across 3 separate recessions. And the data goes back far enough to prove it is not an accident. Before this video is over, you are going to know exactly what that pattern is. The specific failure that locked in permanent losses for nearly a quarter of American workers in 2010. The named companies founded at recession troughs that became some of the most valuable businesses in history. And 4 moves confirmed by Federal Reserve panel data that do not require a broker, an advisor, or anything except deciding to run the playbook before the pressure arrives. The 1973 to 1975 recession arrived with the OPEC oil embargo. Gas lines, inflation running hot, unemployment above 9%. The personal saving rate climbed to 17% by May of 1975, the exact trough month of that recession. That number is not a coincidence. It is the behavior of the households that came through. While the headline said the economy was broken, a specific subset of American families was putting 17 cents of every dollar earned into savings. Not because they were told to, because the instinct could build a cushion before things got worse turned out to be exactly right. In April of 1973, the first month of that recession, Fred Smith launched FedEx in Memphis. Within the year, the company nearly collapsed entirely. When FedEx was down to its last $5,000 and could not cover a fuel bill, Smith flew to Las Vegas, played blackjack, and turned $5,000 into $27,000. In his own words, it was not decisive, but it was an omen that things would get better. FedEx survived. 2 years later, in April of 1975, the literal trough month of that same recession, Bill Gates and Paul Allen founded Microsoft. Not after the recovery. Not when conditions felt safer. At the bottom, in the same window, the saving rate households were quietly building their position while everyone else was retreating. The second recession, 1980 to 1982, was engineered on purpose. Federal Reserve Chairman Paul Volcker pushed the federal funds rate to 20% in December of 1980 to break inflation running above 13%. Unemployment hit nearly 11%. Mortgage rates hit 18%. Variable rate debt became a trap for every household carrying it. But the households with cash, with fixed obligations, with certificates of deposit and treasury bills, earned the highest real yields in modern American history. The 20% rate did not just spare them from the damage, it paid them to wait. Keeping your head in the Volcker recession was not just about avoiding panic. It was one of the highest returning strategies available. The savers were not just surviving. They were being rewarded at a rate that has never been repeated. Now, the third recession, the one with the most detailed data, the Federal Reserve's survey of consumer finances tracked the same households from 2007 through 2010. Median household net worth fell 39%. Mean fell 15%. The bottom income quintile gained 5.9%. The explanation runs through exposure and leverage. Higher income households had concentrated positions in financial assets and real estate at peak valuations. When both collapsed simultaneously, the losses were severe. Lower income households with less leverage, fewer financial assets at inflated values, and more liquid savings relative to net worth were less exposed to the drop. The ones who had been living below their means and building a cash cushion had less to lose and were able to hold through the trough without selling anything at the worst moment. 8 centuries of financial crisis data, compiled across 66 countries by economists Carmen Reinhart and Kenneth Rogoff, confirm the structural pattern. Recoveries from debt-driven financial crises take roughly twice as long as ordinary recessions, and household deleveraging runs 5 to 7 years after the trough. The households that positioned during the contraction captured the first and most powerful leg of the recovery. The ones who waited for the all clear missed it. Brian Chesky and Joe Gebbia founded Airbnb in 2008 while renting out air mattresses in their San Francisco apartment because they could not cover rent.
Hey everyone, real quick to jump in. If you want to be one of those people that win and not lose during this downturn, links down below. Real Estate Crash Bundle, 4 courses, teaches you everything about real estate cycles and so much more. You're going to walk away from this going, Ninja, when's the next course coming out? It's freaking rad. I'm not joking. You're going to say that. It's going to be a thing. Anyway, let's get back to this video and how you're going to take advantage of this downturn.
Travis Kalanick and Garrett Camp founded Uber in 2009. Stuart Butterfield started building Slack in 2009 after watching his previous company fail. 3 companies that changed how people travel, move through cities, and work all started at the bottom. The trough is not the end of the story for the people who position correctly. For some of them, it is the entry point. Here is the failure pattern. 23.8% of Americans under 55 cracked their retirement accounts in 2010. Of that group, 39.2% paid the 10% early withdrawal penalty on top of ordinary income tax. For every dollar contributed, roughly 45 cents came back out. On top of that, they sold near the bottom of the market and missed the longest bull run in modern American history. The S&P 500 bottomed at 676 in March of 2009. By February of 2020, it was above 3,200. The households that broke their retirement accounts in 2010 made a permanent decision in response to a temporary condition. The recovery ran for 11 years. They missed it. The 2024 Federal Reserve Survey of Household Economics found that only 55% of American adults have enough set aside to cover 3 months of expenses. Among adults 18 to 29, it is 36%. 30% of all adults said they could not cover 3 months by any means at all. The gap between the survivor cohort and everyone else starts here, before the recession arrives. Here are the 4 moves the Federal Reserve panel data confirms across all 3 recessions, updated for where the housing and credit markets actually sit in June 2026. First, build the emergency cash buffer before anything else. The 30-year fixed mortgage rate is sitting at 6.55% right now. The average American rent is $1,643 per month. Whether you own, buy, or rent, the monthly cash drain is real, and it is not dropping significantly this year. The Federal Reserve panel data shows the households that survived 2008 had 3 to 6 months of expenses in liquid cash before the crisis hit. Not in a retirement account, not in home equity, in cash they could access without a penalty. If you do not have that buffer right now, every other move on this list is built on a foundation that can crack under one unexpected expense. Build the buffer before you pay down debt. Build it before you invest. Build it first. Second, if you are a renter right now, your position is actually improving on paper. National rents declined 1.65% year over year as of March 2026, and multifamily supply is running ahead of demand in most major markets. That means the next 12 months are the window to negotiate your lease renewal down, not accept the renewal at the asking rate. Every dollar you do not pay in rent above market rate is a dollar that goes into the cash buffer the first move requires. Do not let a landlord roll you into an above market renewal in a declining rent environment. Third, if you are a buyer right now, Texas and Florida have flipped to buyer's markets with inventory at decade highs. The mortgage payment share of income is projected to hit 29.3% in 2026, the first time below the 30% affordability threshold since 2022. If you have the cash buffer in place and you are buying in a buyer's market with a fixed rate loan, you are running the exact playbook the 2008 survivor cohort ran. A fixed rate at 6.5% is not ideal, but it is fixed. The Volcker recession households who locked in fixed obligations at rates far higher than today still came out ahead of the households carrying variable debt when the cycle turned. Lock the rate. Do not carry an adjustable. Fourth, if you are holding investments or a retirement account and the market drops, do not sell. The 23.8% of Americans under 55 who cracked their retirement accounts in 2010 sold near the bottom, paid the 10% early withdrawal penalty on top of income tax, and received roughly 45 cents back for every dollar contributed. The S&P 500 bottomed at 676 in March of 2009 and hit 3,200 by February of 2020. 11 years of recovery. The households that held through the trough captured it. The ones who sold missed it permanently. The Federal Reserve published the data on the households that came out ahead. They were not doing anything complicated. They were not getting advice from anyone with a special title. They saved before the crisis arrived. They held through the trough. They did not break the one account that compounded their way back. The bottom income quintile gained 5.9%. while the rest of the country lost 39. That outcome did not happen by accident. It happened because a specific set of decisions was made before the pressure arrived, not during it. The recession that most people are treating as a future problem is already in the supply data, the employment data, and the credit data right now. 800 years of data already answered whether the pattern works. The only variable left is timing. The survivor cohort was not smarter. They were earlier. The households running these 4 moves right now are the ones the Federal Reserve will be writing about in the next cycle's data. Economic Ninja is officially out. Stay prepared.